What is up, riders? This is Cody from Motorcycle MD, bringing you guys another how-to video on doing a valve cover gasket replacement on a CB750 Nighthawk. Alright, it's very common with these. The oil starts to seep out around this cover down here. Cold weather dries out the seal, heats up, cools down, and it goes bad. If you guys like these videos, man, please hit the like button below, share it with somebody you know. Maybe this bike is not what you have, but if you subscribe to the channel, you might find something that is exactly what you have. So I hope you guys find this video interesting. Let's get right into it. Now, the parts I'm using, part numbers are, this is the main gasket right here. That is the main gasket that goes on the entire valve cover. That's a Honda part number. I also replaced these little crushed rubber gaskets that go underneath each valve cover bolt. 2, 4, 6, 8 of them. Part number's right there on the front. Alright, so let's go ahead and attack this thing. Pull your seat off and remove these side covers. We're going to remove the tank as well. Just to show you guys how these clips work on these fuel hoses or these vacuum hoses, there's a little clip that kind of overrides itself. Alright, what you want to do is take your needle nose pliers, put one side of the plier on the top one side on the bottom, and then just apply your pliers and it'll actually split it wide open, allowing you to pull it down. It's super simple. And like I said, when you're getting these hoses off, you really want to get on top of them and then work them down. Alright, if need be, get a flathead screwdriver, get right up between that gap and force it down. Don't just go after it and tearing up your hoses, okay? See, a little bit of gas will come out. Just go ahead and throw some rags underneath there. I probably should have done that beforehand, but not too much comes out. It's just the remainder of what's in that hose. Alright, so the meat and potatoes. Let's go ahead and undo these spark plug caps as well. Man, that spark plug wire is awful. Look at that. I barely even pulled on it. Alright. Wrenching in the real world. This is what actually happens when you're working on your own bike. This thing does not get enough love, but it's my daily rider, so she's a workhorse. So I have this, you should have a wire harness that kind of slips up underneath the coils. Yours might sit a little bit tighter than mine does, but if you can, I like to wire tie it up, maybe get some long zip ties or something and just kind of hold it up out of the way. I can't remember if I need to remove the coils or not to get more access to lifting this thing up. I'm going to go ahead and remove them just so I have ample space to get this valve cover out so I'm not fighting with it, tearing up the mating surface, alright? Just pay attention to your coil wires, okay? If you want, you can put a white dot of white out here and on here. That way you know that one goes back to that one. That one obviously goes back to the one that does not have the white dot. Same thing on the other side. I'm gonna go ahead and get this stuff all prepared, and then we'll start taking these covers off. Just so you guys know the orientation of the coils, the way that they sit, pay attention to that. One coil is gonna hit spark plug 2 and 3 or cylinder 2 and 3. The other one does 1 and 4. Alright, so just keep that in mind. Sometimes just the length of the wire and how they've been sitting for so long will help you determine where they go. But just so you know, 2 and 3 on this side, 1 and 4 on that side. You can write it on there if you want. There also is a nut on the other side. Hold on to that as you pull this out. Again, you might not need to do this. I just want to do it so I'm not forcing anything. That's the last thing I want to do is start prying against the cover and messing up the mating surfaces or scratching up the top of the valve cover. So just safety is key, and maintaining the look of your parts is key. There's another one right there. So I'm just going to lift these up and hold them up out of the way, okay? I'm not going to remove them completely. I just want them out of the way. Just trying to make some room, that's all. Alright, so we'll just start taking off these right here. It does not matter which order you go in. My bolts have these little rubber casings on them. All they are little Allen head rubber kind of grommets in a way to keep that from rusting out, because the water can pool up on these things, and these work great. Again, these came off of a GL 1800 valve cover. I'm going to use a 6mm Allen socket. You can see here that oil is definitely coming off the cover. They start to seep and they won't stop. So you just gotta replace it. And don't be afraid to take this cover off, man. Nothing's gonna come popping and shooting out at you. It's not holding anything back besides oil. So don't be afraid to take this off. Alright guys, these are the valve cover bolts right here. If you want, you can actually shine these up. Take some really fine steel wool, or maybe just a rag and some polishing compound. You can shine these all up and make them nice and chrome again. Just set those off to the side. They're all the same length. Now these are the gaskets that I'm replacing right here. There we go. Completely flat. This one is just breaking, which is awesome. This is real life right here, man. Not everything goes according to plan. Now you probably notice that you got a big old hose hanging off of your valve cover. Crankcase breather system. Just undo this clamp. Give us a good twisting motion, that should just come right off. The crankcase breather hose is off. Let's go ahead and get this cover up, which is almost halfway there. I'm just going to use the rubber back of a flathead screwdriver. Give it a couple taps. And it should loosen up and pull off. Now, here comes the fun part, is just trying to fish this thing out. Remember, you do have a clutch cable on the other side. Keep that in mind. It might be easier to go out that way rather than this way because of the nozzle that sticks out on that side. Again, I'm just going to kind of fish this out that way. And look at that, nothing to it. Here's our hardened gasket that is failing us miserably. Let's go ahead and pull that all off. If you wanted to, now would be a good time to do a little paint job on your thing, maybe clean it up. On the top of the valve cover, polish it up, go get it chromed. Whatever you want to do. This is my daily rider, so I need it. None of that will be happening. Okay, old gasket is junk. Now, what I'm going to do is take the next couple minutes and start taking a small flathead screwdriver, some kind like this. I'm just going to work this inside of here and clean up as much of this old either gasket sealer, whoever used this last, or sometimes it comes off of the actual rubber gasket itself. It's like a really hard epoxy almost. I'm just going to spend a bunch of time and clean all this up because I want it to be a perfect mating surface as well as removing all of the oil and crud that sits on the top of this valve cover, any kind of sealant that's on there. Maybe use a green Scotch-Brite and just kind of scrub it, make it nice and shiny and clean. Use paper towels and brake contact cleaner to make sure there's no residual oil whatsoever on this valve cover mating surface. All right, clean this up, clean that up, and then we'll get back into it. Valve cover's clean. If your hand was not cramping while you're doing it, then you were probably doing it wrong. Let me tell you, man, I remember how much of a pain these things were. I haven't done one in a while, but it's nice and clean. I went and took it to a parts washer just to get all that residual out of the inside. You can use some kind of brake contact cleaner as well. Spray it, give it a nice hosing down, and flush all that debris out, and go back to it. Just make sure you got all the areas done. I promise you it'll be worth it in the end. I know it's a real pain. My hand was cramping. You got to learn to be ambidextrous real quick, I'll tell you. So that's nice and clean. I'm gonna let that dry off over here. Now we'll go after and attack the valve cover mating surface. All right, like I said before, I'm just gonna clean this stuff up. Make sure to get all this residual silicone sealant out of there. Clean it all up. Like I said, you can use like one of those green Scotch-Brite, maybe a towel or a nice rough towel. Even if you want to go as far as using some wet dry sandpaper, the really fine grit, just make a brand new nice polished surface on it, and that will make it seal very well. Alright guys, she is ready for installation. Got the valve cover mating surface all clean. Now many people ask about what type of sealant should you use with the rubber gasket. Many people don't believe in it, whatever the case may be. What I know is that in almost every Honda factory manual, they tell us as technicians to only apply it near the half moon surfaces. This is what I use, Honda Bond High Temp Red, High Temp Silicone Liquid Gasket. I love this stuff. I've sealed hundreds and hundreds of gaskets and engines back together with this stuff when they only either call for this or I'll use it additionally. So I'm going to take a little bit on my finger. I'm going to put some right on the edge of here, just maybe a little bit far back. I'm going to put a little bit here as well, and on these corners. That's what the big area that you want to cover is. Make sure you have a little bit dabbed up on these corners. I also will put some right back here on this half moon back here, just a little bit, very thin layer, again on both sides of the half moon surfaces. So with your mating surface all tacked up with new sealant, there's two different ways you can do this. You can either put the gasket inside of the valve cover, all right, and line it all up in there and try to finagle it in there without dropping the gasket and getting it all into the oil. I don't do that. I do it reverse. So I'll put the gasket down first, and then I'll snug the cover over, and then I'll work the gasket into the actual valve cover. So that's what I'm going to do now. I think it's just easier to do. Otherwise, you're not trying to fight holding all of the gasket in and pushing this cover through and getting it caught. It just makes it a real pain. So this is the way that I'll do it. Obviously, these go down. I believe it is important which side you use because of these pieces right here. I'm going to put that half moon inside over there. Try to avoid getting the gasket all over the valve train and getting oil all over it. Again, you want to try to go in as dry as possible. I'm going to set this down right there just like that. Work this in like there. Because I put that silicone RTV back here. It kind of holds it in place. Again, I'm just going to work this around the entire motor. If you're having trouble keeping these ends down, don't hesitate to put a little bit of RTV there to just kind of hold it in place. Again, you're not globbing it on, you're simply just using it to hold it in place. For instance, this front piece is kind of loose. I don't really like it like that, so I'm just going to put a little bit of RTV right up front of here just to kind of hold it down for me. Alright man, we're ready for the valve cover. Let's go ahead and install that. I'm going to go on that side and come in from the right side of the bike. One more thing I like to do before I install my valve cover gasket, just take some a paper towel or a dry rag. Just double check that the inside of this is dry. And you just kind of mash it in there and run it all the way around with maybe some contact cleaner, or like I said, a paper towel would work great. Crankcase breather nozzle goes on the far right side. Let's go ahead and sneak this thing in, shall we? Hopefully it goes easy for us. I'm just trying to push up against this harness at the same time. As we snake it. Almost there. Alright. We are resting on top of the gasket. Alright, now what I do is I go around and just make sure that all of this gasket is sitting up inside of that land. Okay, so you just put a little bit of pressure on it, wiggle it around a little bit. Just double check all of your sides on the interior of here is huge, making sure this is all inside of the land. Maybe even lift the gasket up if you want and kind of force it in there. This part's crucial, just to make sure that the whole gasket is seated inside of the valve cover. This back half looks good. The sides look good. This right side interior looks really good. This back half is not in. Just kind of lightly push it in and wiggle it around. The real hard ones start to determine all these interior ones, but the gasket should feel flush with the actual valve cover and the head itself. This side's still giving me a problem. I'm going to lift the valve cover up this time and just kind of hand feed it into the valve cover itself and lay it right back down. That works perfectly, just like that. Success. Let's go ahead and install the new top valve cover bolt gaskets. I'm just going to sit them right in there. They say up on them. It's very hard to get it wrong. Alright, now tightening sequence. There is a torque spec on these, but it's not very high. I'm just going to show you guys what I do instead of pulling a torque wrench out, because I know you might not have one. Start from the inside and work your way out in a crisscross pattern. So I'm going to come here, and I'm going to come to this side on this inner. I'm going to jump across to this one and come to this one. I'm going to jump to this one. It's like you're constantly trying to make X's, alright? As long as you do that, and then you're good. Alright, so the way that I'm going to tighten them is I'm just going to start snugging them down. Don't go all the way tight with one and go to the other. Just go until you start feeling some resistance. And you're going to continue to do this until you get to a point where all of them are tight. So again, I'm not tightening them down all the way at first. I'm just feeling that resistance, and I'm going to jump around. Alright, now that they're all pretty much snug, but they're not fully seated, I'm going to go ahead and fully seat each one. That one stopped right there. I'm just going to give it a small little eighth of a turn. These do not take much. Y'all have successfully installed a valve cover gasket on your CB750 Nighthawk. I hope that helped you guys out. Feel free to subscribe. There's a link right there. You can hit that, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Even if this bike was not specifically for yours, you never know when I'm going to come out with a video that will be specifically for your bike. Alright, I usually always do Hondas. Hope you guys enjoyed the content. Stay tuned for the next video, guys. Thank you so much for your time and your energy that you spent in putting this valve cover on. This is Cody from Motorcycle ND, giving you guys quality tips and tricks for your next build or daily rider. Yo, video's not done yet. Make sure you subscribe to the motorcyclend.com mailing list. I have a free gift for you there. Troubleshooting cheat sheet. You will not want to wrench on your bike without it. You never know when a problem comes up. I have a free gift for you just for subscribing. Hit the link right here. It's a little sliding box. It's cool. Click it, take you right to it. Easier than that. All right, subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much.